All right, guys, it's Wednesday now. We're pouring into the middle of the week, and we want to talk about some things that we should be looking at midweek. Now, I know I haven't been talking about it as much, but today I really want to talk about the importance of improving your English. Now, why do I say this? You're coming to America, you're going to an English medium university, okay? You need to improve your language. You need to improve your vocabulary. Now, some of you have gone to English medium schools your whole life. So let's say, for example, you grew up in Dubai, but you went to the American school Dubai from kindergarten up to 12th grade. Or you went to school in Morocco and you went from English school from kindergarten to 12th grade. All right, or it's different. Or maybe you have one parent that is American or Canadian or British, and you grew up as English as kind of like your first language. All right, now we have these people. Even though you did grow up speaking English, you still have to improve vocabulary. I always mention that really after fourth grade in school, it's just repetition of vocabulary because you pretty much learn the majority of grammar rules, when you first go to school, third, fourth grade. By fourth grade, you're reading a newspaper. You're not understanding everything that's in there, but you're able to read it fluently. You're able to pick out some words and look them up. Now, with the advent of Google and all these other search engines and AI, a lot of people simply aren't focused on reading and literature and vocabulary like they used to be. So that works in some cases, but what happens when you have to go to a job interview and you don't know how to speak? I've seen people blown job interviews totally simply because they didn't know when to turn off street language and to speak proper English. So that's another thing. Sometimes a lot of people overseas, they watch a lot of American and British and Australian movies. And the speech that they're using isn't good speech. It's not good professional speech. It's not academic speech. Some of it is street language. And it sounds cool and it's fun to play around with your friends. But you can't go to these interviews and go to these college meetings speaking like that because this isn't academic English. All right. So every time you hear English doesn't mean that it's academic English. All right. So it's important for you to do what? I personally feel that you should be building vocabulary daily. The best way to build vocabulary daily is to go through new vocabulary words from the dictionary, even if it means 5 words a day, 10 words a day. Copy down 5 words, 10 words a day, figure out, look up the definitions, and then look at how you can make it in sentences. And maybe write them down if you can. Now, that's a tall task for a lot of people, but people that are serious, you're going to put that work in to improve your vocabulary. Imagine if you did 10 new words a day for 30 days. All right, 10 new words a day for 30 days. All right, you're talking about 300 new words that you never knew and that you could use, and it's going to improve your vocabulary. All right, like anything else, when you don't utilize it, you can lose it. So let's say your English is very well and you go to an English medium school, but the minute you come home, you're speaking all Arabic or all Urdu, whatever language you're speaking. If you're not careful, you could switch back and forth and kind of forget the new words you learn. I think that the English language, and all languages for that matter, are a lifelong learning process, okay? Because what happens if we don't keep using it? Then the languages start to die, all right? Start to die down. We don't know how to use them. Now, I've seen this in many Arab countries, for example, where maybe they're speaking Arabic years ago, but nowadays they replace everything with English to the point that people can't speak their native language. This is a little bit opposite here, but it just shows that people in generally, they're not reading, they're not buying books, and they're not improving their vocabulary. Now, could I be an old dinosaur thinking old school? Perhaps. But I think it's definitely vital for you as a student to be a true academic. If you're not reading, if you're not reading the periodicals in your major, if you're not looking at engineering books, you want to be an engineer. If you're not looking at mathematics books and you're not a mathematician, there's something wrong. Because I don't know how you think you can go from being a bad student in your country, and maybe you had some juice or some wasta or some connections where you got into university. How do you think you're going to go over there and do well? Everybody can't help you out. All right. And you have to understand that unlike some countries, America, the cheating culture is something that is not tolerated. It can get you kicked out of school. All right. Even things such as plagiarism. And we'll go over that word as well. Plagiarism, where someone else is writing your paper or you took your paper from someone else and use it as yours. You can't do that. That can get you kicked out the university. You just can't say, no, sorry, last chance. You can't do that. So you have to make sure that you are equipped with the English language. You are equipped with new words daily. 10 words a day is not a lot, all right? And if you want to go further, write them in sentences, use them in sentences. Another thing is practice speaking English with your friends that speak English. Because if you don't practice, then you start getting a little bit lax. Now, is this going to be a problem for many of our students that basically went to English medium school since kindergarten? Most likely not. But even us even us native English speakers, we sometimes get a little bit lackadaisical with the language. We get lazy with the language. We want to speak slang. We want to use abbreviations. We want to, especially when text, we just like LOL. And of course, like we mentioned with the internet. So going back to that, we just have to make sure that we are staying on top of our business, staying on top of our learning, and keeping up to date on our vocabulary, our sentence structure, and our reading. You should always have a book that you're reading in English if you're serious about becoming an English student in America. If you don't want to go to America studying English, okay, it's not for you. But if you're talking about going and studying in the English language in America, you need to be reading at least 1 or 2 books a week, or at least, have 2 books open, or one that you're reading constantly. All right, chapter a day, 2 chapters a day. You have to keep it going. If not, your brain's going to end up start getting weak, going to forget things. So I need you guys to follow my advice. Pick up a dictionary, pick up a thesaurus, order some books, whether you want to order a chapter book from Amazon, or you want to order some review materials. Start getting these books, heavy chapter books, no pictures, okay? You should be reading books 500, 600 pages. I was mentioning you before, when I was in 6th grade, I was reading J.R. Tolkien books. 6th grade, reading The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and all these things, all right? You have to be on top of these things, all right? We'll talk later, and hope to hear from you soon.